Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Quiet Work podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about creating a premium customer experience, building a brand beyond just one location, actually beyond just one state. I'm bringing in an expert when it comes to tattoo and the artistry behind it. I've Sean, without any further ado, please introduce yourself and the company you represent, and we'll start a conversation with that.
Thanks for having me, Matt. My name is Sean Dowdell. I founded a company called Club Tattoo back in 1995. It has grown to 12 locations split between two brands, Inked Studios and Club Tattoo. And the parent company now is called the Tattoo Partners.
Incredible. So if my math is mathing, it's been 30 years. So
30
what
years.
happened in 1995 that led you to start the business and create your own journey?
At the time, I was in a touring band and we were doing regional tours where we were just doing 4 or 5 shows at a time. And then when we would come back, the band was starting to get pretty successful. But all the money we were making was being pushed back into the band for recording, merchandise, pressing albums, that type of thing. So we would come back personally and not have money to pay our bills. So the bass player and I at the time decided to open up a tattoo shop via some other promotions we were doing with the band for some tattoo industry nights. We decided to open up Club Tattoo in 1995 in Tempe, Arizona, and we thought we would just be rock stars that had this cool little business that kind of fed into itself. And then throughout the years, my original partner Mace, I bought him out within 6 months. When I left the music industry originally in 1999, I focused all my energy and time into really becoming an entrepreneur and business owner that understood the business model of what it was in the first place and the numbers and getting deep into actually being an operator. And from there, it grew over the years to 2, 3, 4, then eventually 6. Now 12 locations, and we're on track to have another 12 locations next year.
Wow. So in the beginning, 1995, you established a business and then you still were with the band for the next 4 years. How did you handle running the business and being part of the band for those first 4 years in the business?
Well, they went hand in hand, honestly. It was part of my nightlife, and every time the band was doing some type of show, we would leverage the band's success to the business, and we would put Club Tattoo on our flyers and our everything we would do. We would be giving love back to the business because all of my band members wanted to help support the business. And then when we would play with larger, let's say larger global acts like Vince Neil or Seven Mary Three or Suicidal Tendencies, we'd bring them over to the tattoo studio because it was right next door to the big club in town called the Electric Ballroom. So we really leveraged the success of the band to help promote this small business, this tattoo shop. And we were using guerrilla marketing techniques all along the way that just didn't exist in the space at the time. Exist in the music industries. It came right out of the LA music scene in the 80s from Hollywood, Hollywood Boulevard, where they were doing handbills and flyers and just that guerrilla marketing sequence that was so popular at the time. We applied that to the Club Tattoo business model, and it really skyrocketed. And we went from 1 to 2 locations. I think in 2000, I opened up the second location, and it just kind of grew from there.
Incredible. Yes. It's funny that now we have to track every single detail of any marketing efforts you do. But back then, you couldn't really track all the impressions you were getting or the conversions from those flyers and the word of mouth and all of that. But yet it worked. It had a big impact on the business. And I'm glad it worked out.
One of the biggest marketing tools that we used from the band that we applied to the business was the name Club Tattoo felt inclusive. So we decided to early on, I made these stickers. They were just, they weren't you have to remember, back in the 90s, stickers on cars existed. They were like giant rectangles and they were bumper stickers. That's where the term came from. They put them on their bumpers. They were ugly, usually made the car look stupid. What we did was we did this really cool cutouts of these old English lettering that had the logo of the shop, and we were putting them on car windows, and we would give them away for free. They cost me $5, and $5 per sticker to give away for free in the 90s. It was a lot of money. But in the next couple of years, if you lived in the Phoenix area, you could not drive for a day or two without seeing one of these club tattoo stickers on cars. So it was free advertising for us. And it was a huge, that was our way of tracking metrics. Or what was our ROI? Well, we could see these stickers on people driving around all over town. So we knew it was working. We'd have people that weren't even our clients coming in and they would ask for a sticker. How do I get one of those stickers? I see them everywhere. And that's when we knew we were onto something. I was like, okay, people feel like they're part of something just by having this on their car. And of course, it went into apparel with shirts and everything else. But it started with that sticker. And that sticker is one of the greatest attributes to our success, in my opinion.
Love that. Super creative. And that is the original way, OG way of going viral with something. You know,
Yeah.
you were actually went viral in a city in your local market. That's
Yeah.
that's impressive. Love that. It reminds me of the creative strategy behind Red Bull early days when they were, I think it was Red Bull, when they essentially were disposing empty cans that didn't even have the Red Bull inside of them in the first place, just empty cans throughout the festivals in one of the cities, just to make people think like, wow, there's every can has, I mean, there's every trash can has Red Bull cans. Like people drink that like crazy. What is this? And it created that virality effect where people were asking, people wanted to find out more about it, people were curious, and that curiosity led to knowing eventually what became Red Bull. And for you with Clap Tattoo, where people wanted to belong to it, whether or not they were a client of yours or not. That's impressive. Love that.
It's interesting. Thank you very much. It's interesting because now brands are trying to build everything through social media
Mm.
and they're counting their followers. Well, how many followers do you have? Followers don't necessarily translate to customers, right? So it might just be something they look at. But in Red Bull's case or Club Tattoo's case, when we saw our product on other people's hands or other people's minds, that was metaphorically our followers, but they were literally promoting our brand by
Yeah.
just being interested in finding it cool. And that to me was the OG followers.
Yeah. Absolutely. That matters. I bet that mattered more than, thousands of followers on Instagram that just hit the follow button or bots or whatever. Those were real OG followers of the brand. And speaking of brand, how did you maintain that within the growth that came after that? It was interesting to me to see that it's not really a franchise that you've built with those locations, but those are locations that I assume you manage directly or you and your team manage directly. So how did you maintain that brand throughout different locations? You're in Nevada, Arizona, and New Jersey. Is that right?
New Jersey, New York, Miami, Houston.
Oh, all right.
We're popping up in LA here real soon. So we're nationwide at this point, and I think 9 states, excuse me, 6 states. But I think it evolved over time. It wasn't something that I just had this light bulb moment. I knew all the answers. I still don't know all the answers. I'm still learning. But by being exposed to legacy brands, you start to notice that they all had something in common. They all had a shared experience with the consumer. They were able to connect with them emotionally. They gave the same experience whether you were in one of their stores in Las Vegas or whether you were one of their stores on Melrose in LA. Trying to make sure that each of our locations were transcending the same user or client experience was something I caught on to, I would say probably around 2004, 2005, when we started getting into conversations through different properties around the globe. 2004 was when we really started to explore the Las Vegas market and try to get into some of the casinos. And that turned out to be a 5 year to get our first location open. It's not as easy as people think. And finding a commonality between client experience so that I know a client now comes into my store or our store in Scottsdale and they go to our store at the Venetian Casino. Even though the stores might be different size, they have different staff, they have a little bit of a different aesthetic. It still feels like a club tattoo. It still feels like an inked when you go into our New York store or when you go into our Miami store or our new store in Treasure Island in Vegas. The clients understand the brand. You have to find out what attributes identify your brand that are important, and you have to maintain those standards. And then you just build off of that. They can change and be flexible over time, but you have to have a core of what you are. You have to be able to define what you are as a brand, and what your clients perceive you as really is what you are as a brand, whether you like it or not. So you have to make sure that that is a consistent perception across multitude of different locations.
Core values, every decision that you or the company make follows those guidelines, those values. And speaking of which, how do you maintain it from their business perspective? I'm really curious to hear from you. How do you find people to manage those locations to make sure that they also follow the same values that you implemented into in your first locations?
Well, again, that's evolved over time, and it's come through starting with one really good employee, building to two, building to three, and then having a really strong internal infrastructure that can manage the individual stores. I don't have the bandwidth to manage 12 stores at one time. It's just not possible. At this point, my role has evolved to what I would, as CEO for this company, my role is to keep the brand direction and our brand standards and our brand vision consistent and lead by letting our staff know what those things are. But our senior management and our regional management, they're the real key to hiring store managers and maintaining brand standards within the store locations themselves. So I'm a bit removed from that. I do immerse myself into the studios and give the staff face time and look at the store, make sure everything looks and feels right. But if I'm in the store and something doesn't feel right, I usually will pick up the phone or ask the store manager. And if they don't have a good answer, I'll go to the regional manager instead of just trying to correct it myself because it's bothering me, which is the way I used to do it. I'll try to teach the staff along the way and then make sure that the regional manager, the store managers are having the store and delegating proportionately and properly to the right people so that they can learn the why I want things done that way so that when I come in the next time, I'm not fixing the same problem that's there because someone wasn't trained why it shouldn't be that way.
I like that. And do you ever do those visits to any of the locations unexpectedly, so to find out whether
All the time. You have to. Sometimes I plan visits because I have to have meetings, but
yeah,
if they know you're coming, everyone's going to have their best face on. Everyone's going to be all smiles and the store's going to be clean, which you want it to be regardless, but you have to do pop-ins. And I have friends that I send in there, or some of our other business associates will send in on secret shopping, and they'll report back to us and let us know how our staff's treating them, and more to make sure that our brand standards is there, not to get people in trouble. I just want to make sure that our user experience is there.
absolutely. And I bet that's why your guys are growing so rapidly. And if you look back and the first, let's say, decade or maybe even two, there obviously were certain challenges that came about, like figuring out how to get into Las Vegas and have that food traffic, that traffic benefits from that foot traffic there. Was there anything that surprised you in a positive way when it comes to growing a business and growing a business in your industry from the very beginning?
I think for me in the very beginning, the surprise, the happy surprises were watching clients have their lives change because what we get to do is literally aesthetically and emotionally affect our clients. For a lot of clients, not all clients, but for a lot of clients, getting a tattoo is very serious emotional journey for them. It's very meaningful. It could be someone that they love that has passed, or their children, or their husband, or their wife, or their grandfather. It could be, even if it's not their name or portrait, whatever tattoo they're getting, it could represent a moment or a special moment in their life. And that to me was a really cool, eye-opening, like, wow, we're having this really emotionally charged impact on our clients. How do we make sure that we're maximizing that for them in a positive way, something that they remember and they walk away going, these guys took care of me. Most of your clients aren't art critics, but they are experience critics. So could you have a tattoo that one artist at another shop could be better than another? Of course, art's subjective. You're going to have different things that people like more than another. But if you gave their user, the client, a phenomenal emotional experience and they felt like they were listened to, they felt like they were involved in the journey and not ignored and not made to feel like they didn't matter, that goes so far into their overall experience. I would say equally, if not more, is the actual product they're getting. And that to me was a great thing to learn early on.
I love it. And I bet that some of the clients that came and experienced that for the first time, they would recommend you and they would travel as many hours as needed to come back and experience the same feeling throughout their journey.
Well, that is definitely the goal. And now I look at, our role as a company to curate great artists and great piercers. It's our job to hire great talent that they are the connection point with the client. They're giving a great tattoo, they're doing great artwork, they're doing great piercing. But our staff, from The moment that that client finds out about us to the moment they're getting tattooed or pierced, every step in between, our job is to make that as comfortable and as great as possible so that by the time they get in the chair, already have decided they're going to have a great experience with that artist.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And walk us through some innovations that you're particularly excited about that you've implemented. I know that we live in a world of AI, AI agents, AI stuff, artificial intelligence here and there. There are so many new tools constantly coming to all kinds of markets and industries. What were the innovations that you are excited about that weren't there when you were first starting out that you've implemented in your business?
Well, one of our artists, Alejandro, has developed this fantastic AI modeling for the first touch point for clients. So when you go to our Google page, Google My Business, Facebook Messenger, it interacts in real time to the client so that there's no delay between. So let's say you're looking for a tattoo. I'm looking for a tattoo in Las Vegas right now on our website. There's no delay between our staff checking the email. It runs through all of the simple questions first to get you all of your data of what it is you're looking for. And then it's able to reach out and connect with an artist or a staff member virtually, or the AI bot, I guess is the proper term. They're able to reach out and then connect the human to the touch point seamlessly. That is what I'm excited about, is to see it's not that AI is going to take over on the customer experience, but it's going to make their customer experience faster and easier to manage, eliminate some of the early human errors that can happen just through sheer laziness, through missing, uh, under being short staffed one day, not having the bandwidth to go back and forth on email. So all of that stuff can be mitigated to a point of getting clients that are really looking for something in the moment to an artist or piercer or staff member that can help them right away. So that
Yeah,
I'm excited about.
yes, follow ups and being more organized and the fast response. I mean, we live in a times where we want things fast, we want things now. People get discouraged, especially when they look around online. Obviously, if you walk into the store, that's different. Hopefully, there's someone who will speak to them, and it's going to be a real human being. Even though I see in some of the malls already some holograms of a person speaking to you when you enter the store. I see some jewelers doing that, but online we have that goldfish attention where 3 seconds when we don't get something we don't want or we expect, then we essentially just exit out. It's very important that speed, they call it speed to lead in some areas, but yeah.
It's that, and for our business model, it's a little bit more. I would add on to that and say, we're selling a luxury item. We're selling high end tattoos, high end piercings, gold, diamonds. We're not selling something that people have to have. So we need to make that customer feel the confidence in our product, confidence in their experience, confidence in our artist, of whatever quality jewelry that we have. We're trying to make sure that people know before they even get to our store that we're the highest quality of what they can find in the marketplace.
Mm.
And then we have to be able to back that up. So if they're looking to come to Club Tattoo or Ink and they've sent 2 emails that haven't been responded to, or they've tried to make an appointment and it's been like pulling teeth to get answers from our staff, that's not a fun user experience. So we're trying to make sure that we're mitigating that as much as we can on the front side so that when we do have the much needed human interaction touch point, that everything else has gone smoothly and quickly up to that point.
I agree. Have you heard about, now that you mentioned it, have you heard about the platform called VideoAsk?
No, I haven't.
So VideoAsk, I'm sure you've seen some of the forms online. There's Google Forms, there's Typeform. Whenever someone sends you a survey or a customer survey, for example, if you tell us about your experience and they take you through certain steps, that's essentially, that was the first platform. The company that I mentioned, VideoAsk, this was their first tool, if you will. So they developed this platform called VideoAsk, where, for example, when someone enters your website, they will see that widget. It's not a chatbot per se, or chat that connects you with a person, but actually a video. Could be you in the video, or could be Alejandro or anyone else in particular location. So you can welcome everyone to the website. And if they would like to, after 5 to 10 seconds of that welcoming video, if they would like to learn more about your services, or if they would like to learn more about particular service, they can click that, and this will take them to the follow-up video where again, you or Alejandro, or whoever that person would be, would explain to them the process behind the club tattoo, the ethos of the company, and whatever you want to really showcase in that. Maybe show the location, particular location, show it around, or take them to client testimonials. I saw on YouTube you have a series of interviews with your past clients, so and customers. So essentially something like that. That just came to my mind that could be worth testing, maybe in one
Sure.
location.
We'll check it out. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. It would be something that could work really well for businesses of your type, because again, video is a great way. That's what was one of the reasons why we started with it, or I started with the podcast, because it's a great way to express your thoughts, extract your thoughts and your expertise from your brain, and put it out in the world without being competing with those AI words that everyone can create, right? Video is the most unique form and expression of your thoughts and ideas and expertise and knowledge. And I'm sure you also like to educate others or on certain things, maybe your team members, etc. So I'm a big fan of video. That's why, hence the recommendation. But yeah, check it out. Sure, Alejandro would be interested in learning more about that.
Yeah, we'll check it out. Thank you.
Yes, and my next question is also related to your past customers based on the YouTube channels that I've discovered. Do you have a community for your past customers where they would hang out, express maybe share their ideas, exchange ideas online? That would be obviously for all of your customers nationwide.
Not so much. I think for us, no, I can't. Other than tattoo conventions where customers will come together and see our different artists in the different convention spaces, there's not really something like that in our industry. Trying to think of how that would actually be implemented, or what they would want to talk about, other than that people come on our page and they share what they got tattooed and what their tattoos mean, stuff like that. So I guess our social media channels would be one way for them to interact with one another. But other than that, those would be the only community channels.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about that. I'm always asking about that aspect because sometimes I'm surprised. All kinds of different applications, online communities are becoming very popular. It's almost like the build of Facebook groups, but Facebook obviously focuses on so many different things that they do, and then online communities are growing. So I thought maybe you had some ideas around that in the
I'm gonna wrap
past.
my head around that and think about it a little bit, see if there's something that makes sense for us.
Yeah, I mean, right now, actually, yesterday I discovered that even YouTube started communities now. So you have creators and they can have their own community where you would see what content they're watching and what stuff they're doing. Sean, and my next question is a bit more philosophical. So I'm curious to hear your answer to that. What is the most fulfilling, if you look back at the journey, 30 years, 3 decades? From my conversation so far with you, it sounds like you're just getting started. I can see the excitement and the ideas coming out of you. So when you look back, what is the most fulfilling for you so far in the journey?
That's a great question. And it's going to be a multifaceted answer. So I hope that's okay. I
Absolutely.
love changing our staff's lives. I love it when we hire a tattooer or a piercer or a sales associate, and they come to us and they are struggling a little bit financially and they're not knowing how they're going to pay rent. And then I fast forward a year and they're buying their first house or they're having their first child, that they're getting married. I love to watch those life transitions within the company confines. It makes me feel like a proud dad in a lot of senses. And I have some employees that have been with me for 17 years, 16 years, 15 years. So I love seeing the life changes and being along for the journey for that. That's one way. Building meaningful partnerships with not only people I do business with, but also my business partners. It's a funny story. I had at one time a mortal enemy by the name of Mario Barth that owns a company called Intense Inks, the world's biggest tattooing company. And he owned my biggest competitor, one of the biggest competitor tattoo studios over the years, became great friends, eventually became business partners. We own a bar in Vegas together. Now he's part of Tattoo Partners and we work together on opening new locations and M&A. And that to me is incredibly fulfilling. But then on the backside, I get to give back to the community. Was taught early on that success comes with responsibility, and you have to be able to root for people that are little bit more underprivileged, try to pull them up the ladder, try to help them make more out of their circumstances. So for me, if I had to pick one thing, it's been the ability to give back to the community that's been so good to me.
Speaking of giving back, if you had an opportunity to sit across the table from Sean when you were first starting out in the 90s, what advice would you have for him for his journey?
I would tell him to keep working as hard as you do, but be a little bit more open to other people's criticisms
Yeah,
and ideas.
interesting.
I think as a young man,
Interesting.
I was a little bit more arrogant and headstrong. And as I get older, I realize I don't know everything. And there's a lot of great wisdom that I could have been privy to had I been willing to listen at the time.
Yeah, that's a big one. I wish I did the same thing and I was able to listen earlier in my life. Yes, we tend to be sometimes very stubborn, and it would be much easier and better for us if we weren't that stubborn and actually listen, cared to listen and take someone's words to heart. But yeah, that's a great lesson right there.
Thank you.
Finally, what are you excited about the most in the near future? What's happening in 2026, maybe even beyond that you're particularly excited about?
Well, in the business context of this podcast, I'd have to say I'm excited about scaling our company, but not for the reasons why most people always, he's just excited about having more stores. No, I'm excited about kind of changing the dynamic and the industry standards that have existed and kind of been in place for so many years. There's really been no brand to break out in the tattoo and piercing space. There's a few brands that have 5 or 6 studios and they do very well regionally, but there's really no one brand that kind of broke through and really set the mold. And I'm excited about being that brand and having a meaningful impact on, once again, the industry that's been so good to me. It's really given me so many opportunities. It's blessed me in ways that I couldn't have imagined as a young man. And I'm very grateful. And I want to make sure that I keep the integrity of what I started out to do, not just by having more stores. I want to make sure that their stores are operated at the highest level and keep the integrity of what we want to do.
Inspiring. Reminds me of the art of possible. If you have big goals, big ambitions, everything is possible. There's art behind what's possible, and you're definitely pursuing that. And that's what I wish for you and the entire Clap Tattoo community and members and family and clients and customers to grow beyond your imaginations and be that role model for others to come. And thank you so much for giving back.
Thank you.
It was an honor to host you, Sean. Thanks so much for that 30-minute conversation. I'll let you get back to your duties. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you grow in the near future.
I really appreciate your time and having me on, and you have an awesome day. Be blessed.
Thank you.